Thank you so much for giving me the floor. So, good morning, everyone. So, welcome to my thesis defense. And the title is Toward Better Dependency Management in Python project. So, before I begin, I'd like to thank my committee members, Dr. Bright, Dr. Asaduzaman, and my internal and external readers, and also the chair. So, I will go through some background ideas so that everyone can understand the problem structure very well. So first, let's understand what are the Python third-party packages are. So actually, Python third-party packages are the reusable libraries created by external developers, which actually provides pre-built functionalities for common programming tasks. And developers actually use these third-party packages to save the developing time by leveraging the existing codes, and also they don't need to build those functionalities from scratch. And these packages are actually need to be stored in some repository. So for example, in Python, there is a central repository which is called PyPy, that is the Python package index. So there are almost 600,000 plus libraries in this central repository. And this serves as the hosting and helps the developers to install and download the packages. Now I will discuss about the developers' practice with these third-party packages. So when a developers build a project and then there are different functionalities in their project which actually depends on some other packages. So those packages are actually the dependencies of that project. So this dependency information is actually listed in a file named as configuration file. So there are several configuration files in Python project. For example, requirements.txt is an example, and there are also setup.py or pyproject.toml file. Those are serve as the configuration files. So developers actually list the dependency information in those configuration files. So how they actually specifies the dependencies? So the dependencies are actually specified by some operators. The developers use some operators to specify whether the version needs to be smaller, larger, or exactly equal. For example, you can see these are the operators which are greater than equals to or equal. These are the operators which are used in the configuration file for the version specification. So why these dependencies actually matters? Dependencies actually matters because when a project depends on some other packages, those are the direct dependencies of the project, but those dependencies actually comes up with their own set of dependencies. So here you can see that request is a dependency, direct dependency of the Python project, and request has its own dependency, that is URL library 3, and URL library 3 has a dependency of IDNA of certain versions. Not only this, they have, each of the versions have their own set of Python requirement. So you can see that different dependencies requires different set of Python versions. And this actually matters because if we install a different version of Python, this project cannot run until we satisfy all the conditions of the transitive dependencies as well. So if we actually know which versions of the direct dependencies and the transitive dependencies needs to be installed and what exactly Python version needs to be installed, then actually a virtual environment can help us to avoid these dependency issues. But you can see that different Python versions can be installed in different virtual environment, and same packages of different versions can be installed in the different virtual environments. So virtual environment actually isolates the project's environment from the local environment, and so, though it actually helps us to avoid the dependency issues, but we actually don't know, the challenge is we don't know which exact versions of transitive dependencies and the direct dependencies we need to install, or what exact Python version we need to install to satisfy all the conditions of a project. So this actually helps us to to address two research problems. The first one is the dependency conflict. where we have a configuration file and a dependency conflict actually exists in that configuration file, and we need to resolve that. So we are addressing this research problem. And the second one is if there is a missing configuration file, so we don't have the dependency information, and we are not able to resolve the dependencies and create an environment. So the second research problem is missing configuration files. So let's get the idea of the first research problem. The first research problem has two parts. The first one is the third-party library dependency conflict, where a project has depends on different version of the same package and creates a conflict. So here you can see that we have a project which has a requirement file, and in the requirement file it is specified that pip tools greater than equals to 4 needs to be satisfied, and click = 6 has to be installed to run this project. So the project actually needs click version exactly 6.6, but in case of pip tools, it is given greater than equals to, which means there are a number of versions of pip tools which can be installed to run this project. But the problem here is the latest version of pip tools from 7.4.1 to 4.4.1, these versions have a dependency of click greater than equals to 8. So the transitive dependencies, there is a transitive dependency of click greater than 8, and there is a direct dependency of click equal to 6. So this is a conflict with the direct dependency and the transitive dependencies. So this is a third-party dependency conflict example, and we are going to address this problem. The next one is the Python version incompatibility. So here you can see that when a user downloads a project from a repository like GitHub, and the project actually depends on TensorFlow version 2.10, but TensorFlow 2.10 has a dependency of NumPy version greater than or equals to 120. But all the versions of NumPy actually has a Python requirement of version 3.7. But unfortunately, since in the local environment the Python version 3.6.5 is installed, so due to the version incompatibility, there will arise an installation error. So we need to know that which Python version actually needs to be installed to satisfy all the direct dependencies and the transitive dependencies as well. And the second research problem is, I already mentioned that it's a missing configuration file. We need some efficient tool or an efficient way to generate a configuration file, and then we can resolve the dependencies to find exactly the versions required for a project. So my rest of the talk will actually focus on the research problem 1, but I will be happy to answer if you have any question regarding the research problem 2. So let's see the existing solutions which can be used to address the research problem 1. So pip and conda are the package managers usually used to manage the packages of Python and other packages as well. So pip actually focused on Python packages mainly. It uses the PyPy repository, that is the Python package index. And conda actually is used to manage both Python packages and non-Python packages as well. And it uses the repository of Anaconda for the package installation and downloading purpose. And for the version dependency handling and dependency conflict handling, pip actually uses a backtracking technique, and conda uses a SAP solver for dependency resolution. So now let's visualize the pip backtracking technique. So here, see, I am using the same example. So we have a requirement file where pip tools equal to greater than equals to 4 and click equals 6. Next, we just install the requirements in a virtual environment. And then what happens here is that pip will try to download the dependency informations of click equals 6 and try to install it. And then it will go for pip tools to satisfy the requirement greater than equals to 4. So what pip will do is it will start from the latest version, that is 7.4.1. It will download the dependency information of 7.4.1, but unfortunately it will find a conflict with click equals 6. Next, it will backtrack to the previous version 7.4, and it will find a conflict with the direct dependency, that is click 6.6. So it will try to backtrack until it finds a satisfying version. So lastly, it will find a version which does not have a conflict with the direct dependency click 6.6. So it will actually, the version is 4.4.0. So since there is no conflict, it will install pip-tools 4.4.0. So this is the backtracking technique. So what is the key challenges in this technique? The challenge is it is very time consuming due to the repeated downloads, and also pip actually does not know how many versions it needs to try or how much computation it requires. So it's also a resource intensive. Next solution is the Conda. So Conda actually is a package manager for Anaconda. So in Anaconda there is packages related to Python and R and C, C++, Java, and there are actually 7,500 packages of Python, and also Conda actually uses a SAT solver for the dependency resolution. So, but what is the challenge here? The challenge is the central repository limitations. So Conda's repository contains approximately 7,500 Python projects, which are mostly related to the data science, and compared to PyPy's 600 plus packages, this is actually a short number. But that's why, I mean, if a project has a dependency packages which are not present in the Anaconda, so that dependencies cannot be resolved by Conda. So that's why in the Conda's official website, it is also recommended that users might combine Conda with pip to address this limitation. So now I will focus on our approach to research problem 1. So this is, here we actually introduce SMTpip. This is our developed tools which actually helps users to solve the dependency of a Python project. So what happens here is that this is a higher level architecture. You can see there is a Python project with a configuration file, and we are using the SMTpip to find the exact version which needs to be installed along with the Python version. So how we are doing this? So I will go through first with the data collection, then a knowledge graph construction, then this translating the problem, this dependency problem, into another set of problem and solve it and add an optimization objective. So for the data collection, since PyPy is the central repository and it has most of all the Python packages are available in Python package index. So we started data collection from the PyPy, and by web crawling, we actually collected 560,000 Python packages dependency data, and by analyzing the dependency data, we actually created the knowledge graph. So this is the structure of the knowledge graph. Here in the knowledge graph, there are actually two types of nodes. One is the package nodes, the second one is the version node. And there are two types of ages, that is the versioning ages and the dependency age. So version age actually connects the package to its versions, and dependency age connects the versions to its dependent version of different packages. So this is the main part of our problem and of our approach, that is the translating the problem. So since it's a dependency resolution problem, we are translating and converting this problem to a Boolean satisfiability problem. So what is a Boolean satisfiability problem? We need to first understand it, then we can understand how we are translating the dependency resolution. So Boolean satisfiability problem is like if we are given a logical expression, we just need to find a assignment of the variables to truth values that makes it true. I mean the values of the variables which makes the whole expression true. So anyone can tell me how we can find the values of the variables which will make the expression true? So the best, let me help. So the best way to find is using a truth table. So if I use a truth table, you can see that these are the satisfying assignments which makes the expression true, and these are the values which we need to set for the variables which will make the expression true. So let's look at the second one, where A is false, B is false, and C is true. If we set this to the expression will become true. So this is our target. I mean, if somehow, if there is an efficient way to convert all the dependency information into a Boolean formula, and we can use a solver to find a satisfying assignment, then we are done. I mean, we are actually getting the solution. So let's see how we can convert the problem into a Boolean formula. So why we are using an SMT solver to solve this? Actually, SAT solvers only works with the Boolean formula, whether it is satisfied with the true values, true, false or not. But SMT solver extends the SAT solvers with a theory solver, and it is more expressive, faster and simpler, and we can add an optimization functions, and we can add we can add optimization functions and optimize and can convert the problem into an optimization problem also. So this is the architecture of the SMTpip. This is the full architecture, where actually we have a configuration file and there is a dependency conflict exists in the configuration file, and from the knowledge graph we are getting all the informations, the direct dependencies, transitive dependencies and the Python dependencies, and we are encoding these informations into the expressions which are SMT expressions, and we are giving as input to the solver these expressions, and we are adding an optimization function. The objective of the optimization function is to get the latest version which actually solves all the dependency constraints, and also the unnecessary packages are not selected. So if we get a satisfying assignment from this expression, then we are using that assignments to create an install script, and that install script will help to create us the conflict-free environment. So to translating this problem, we actually follow 4 steps. The first one is the direct dependencies, second is the consistency constraints, third is the transitive dependencies, and the fourth is the Python version constraints. So to understand it, we are using an example how we are so that we can understand the encoding part clearly. So here I'm using the same example, and for this specific example we have a 4 types of sets. One is A is the set of all versions of click, and B is the set of all versions of pip tools. But S is the subset of click which actually satisfies this condition, and T is the subset of pip tools which actually satisfy this condition. So these are the 4 types of sets, and there are 2 types of variables, that is PV and CV, which are actually CV will be true if click version V is installed, PV will be true if P version V is installed. So now let's start with the direct dependencies. So when we have a specification in the requirement file, based on the requirement, we fetch the information from the knowledge graph that of which versions are actually satisfying these conditions. So from the knowledge graph, we find that there is only one version which satisfies this condition, and there are also several versions of pip tools which satisfy this condition. So what we are doing is since there is only one version, it's a unit clause, and since there are several versions, and we are connecting all the versions with an OR operators, and we are connecting both the packages with an AND operator. So this is in a these direct dependency constraints will be in a CNF form. CNF means the consecutive normal form, which actually AND of ORs, and that will actually help the solver to find a solution easily. So the next one is the consistency constraints, which is also in a CNF format, and here what we are using is we are using a cardinality constraint to ensure that at most one version per package is selected, and this cardinality constraint is actually supported by all the solvers like Z3 by an at most one operator. The next one is the transitive dependencies. Since we already mentioned that there are several versions of pip tools which can be used for the package to run, so all the latest version of pip tools have a dependency of click. So click is the transitive dependency of this version. So how we are translating the transitive dependencies? We are actually using an implication operator here. For example, here pip2 7.4.1 has a transitive dependency on click version 8 and 8.1. So we are using an implication operator to express this in transitive dependency information. So we are translating all the transitive dependencies in the similar way. And next, the last one is the Python version constraints. So all the versions we are trying to, we face from the knowledge graph for this dependency resolution, we are actually collecting the Python version requirements as well. For example, Click 6.6 has a requirement of Python greater than 2.7. So we are similar to the transitive dependency. We are also using here the implication operator. That is, Click 6.6 requires Python version 2.7, 2.8 up to the latest one. So collecting all these Python version constraints, after collecting all these things, then we are actually creating the expression, adding the expression with an AND operator. So this is the whole expression is in our CNF format, and which is actually efficient for the solver to solve. So we are using a Z3 SMT solver to solve this expression, and we are finding, if we find a satisfying assignment, then it's we are using that satisfying assignment to find create an install script and verify that install script against the knowledge graph, so that we can validate that the solution we found is actually correct. This confirms that there is no conflict in the solution. Now I will discuss some of the related works. So first one is the SMTpip by Wang et al. And the second one is the PyGo, that is by Gay et al. And the thing is, the difference between our encoding and their encoding is the dependency constraints encoding and the version encoding, they are not using the CNF format, which is not efficient, and we are actually expressing the encodings as expression in a CNF form. And also we are adding an optimization function as a soft constraint to satisfy our objective, that is getting the latest version as the we satisfy all the dependency constraints. But in the other works, they didn't actually use any optimization function or any soft constraints as well. So now I will discuss the result and evaluation part. And to evaluate our tool, we actually answer two types of research questions. The first one is how effective SMTpip is in resolving dependency conflict for Python projects compared to pip, conda, SMTpip, and PyGo. And the second research question is the technique efficient enough to be used in practice? So for the evaluation, we actually use 4 benchmark datasets, and these are the datasets, and which are Watchman, the HD 2.9K, SD, and Jupyter Notebook. And actually, Jupyter Notebook is created by ourselves. This is our self-made dataset. And these are the number of consistent cases, and these are the numbers of inconsistent cases in the dataset. So by consistent cases, I mean the case where there exists dependency conflict and there is existing solution for that. But in the inconsistent cases, there does not exist any solution. That is, the conflict cannot be resolved. So I will actually go through the evaluation of the consistent cases only due to the limitation of the time. And this is the comparison of SMTpip and SMTpip for all the data sets. And we are actually using a downgraded dependency graph for SMTpip, because SMTpip actually used the knowledge graph of SMTpip was 2 years earlier, that is 2 years. It was not updated between the last 2 years. That's why actually we downgraded our knowledge graph and made it equivalent to the SMTpip's knowledge graph, so there is a fair comparison between them. So here you can see that SMTpip actually fails in 3% cases of Watchman, 1% case in the HD 2.9K dataset, and 7% in the SD dataset, and Jupyter Notebook it failed 4% cases. And SMTpip actually succeeded all the cases here, and you also can see that the time difference, SMTpip actually took less time than SMTpip. So this is a comparison with other tools, for example, pip, conda, PyGo, and I am actually showing the result for only one dataset here, but I will be happy if you have any question regarding the other datasets also. So in this specific dataset, you can see pip actually resolved 100% of the cases, and similar to our tool. But the thing is, it actually took a lot of time to solve this solve these cases, because actually I already mentioned that pip does not know how many versions it needs to be it needs to backtrack, or how many versions it needs to check to solve the dependency conflict. And the next one is you can see the comparison of the SMT expression generation between SMTpip and SMTpip. You can see in all the cases these dots are all the cases, and you can see the orange line is for the SMTpip and the blue line is for the SMTpip. You can see for SMTpip the time taken to generate the SMT expression is less, but for the SMTpip it took a lot of time to create the SMT expressions, and there are also some cases for SMTpip which actually took much longer time here, you can see. So now I will discuss about the speed up achieved by this SMTpip by that is our tool. So SMTpip actually achieved 39 times faster speed up against pip, 37 times faster against Conda, 3.2 times faster than SMTpip, and 4 times faster than PyEgo. So in the conclusion, I will say that SMTpip actually helps the developers to maintain a conflict-free environment with a minimal effort and improving the reliability across Python project. We also have a future plan to adapt this tool to the other ecosystem as well, for example, R, JavaScript, or Java. And this was the conclusion of addressing the research problem 1. And now I will just discuss about our journey to the whole thesis, that is the contribution of my thesis. So I actually started literature review, and there I actually reviewed 78 plus technical papers, and after that I had to study some software engineering topics such as mining software repositories, and there are some other topics from the theoretical computer science, that is the computational math, SAT, and SMT, etc. So these actually help me to structure this thesis. So I have started the data collection, and I have contributed one of the data set, and which was actually contained 1359 dependency conflict issues. And I have created a knowledge graph which actually contains the dependency information of 560,000 Python packages. So when I started collecting the data, so this also helped me to create another paper which was on the understanding the popularity of packages in Maven ecosystem, which helped me. In that case, I already published a short paper in the MSR 25 mining challenge. And after that, after all these things, I started developing the SMTpip and for the dependency resolution. And after the evaluation, I have a plan to publish the evaluation result as a journal paper. And that's from my end. Thank you so much. If you have any question, I will be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you so much. So, Dr. Asad, should we start with the audience and then let them go? Okay. So if